Hey, what's up? Lad here. Today's video is a special 3-in-1 package. We're gonna do an overview of all 3 champions, starting with Herminia, Tytos, and finally Auguste. Stay strapped, and let's get to it.
さあ、次はどなたがしつけてほしいのかしら。
Herminia is of the Well faction and is a light hunter obtainable in the memoirs. She has access to 4-hit attacks for bows, fans, and light, making her an ideal candidate to bring along for any battle. Before we take a look at her kit, her voice actress, Atsuko Tanaka. I thought I recognized her voice. She voices Bayonetta and Conan from Naruto. She's got a very mature tone for her low voice. Pretty cool. So on to her notable damage skills. She has a 4-hit single target bow physical damage attack, a 1-hit AoE bow damage attack, and a continuing 1-hit AoE bow damage for her next 2 turns. It also has a moderate chance for bleed. This ability is kind of like Ludai's javelin throw. Next, for her nuke, she has 1-hit bow physical damage, won't say 260. It's a 1.2 times increase. The target is bleeding and absorbs 10% HP of the damage dealt. Next, she has a 4-hit fan physical damage attack, won't say 45. That has a moderate chance for bleeding for 2 turns. Then finally, for her fan nuke attack, she has 1-hit fan physical damage attack, won't say 260. It's a 1.2 times damage if the target is bleeding, and it absorbs 1% SP of damage dealt. And then she has a 4-hit random target light elemental damage attack. Her ultimate is a 1-hit bow physical damage attack, potency at 500 at level 1 and 600 at level 10. Potency is increased by 1.2 times if the target is bleeding. And then for her notable support skills, she has a front row 15% physical defense and elemental defense up for 2 turns. For her passive, she has a 30% chance to summon an NPC when using damage abilities. This NPC applies bleeding status to a random target for 3 turns. And then she has a self 20% increase in bow damage and fan damage. She has a 10% light resistance and 20 in dark. So taking a look at Herminia's stats, her stats are all around pretty neutral. She's the 2nd strongest bow user with only 5 points away from Curtius. And seeing how she's faster than him, I would definitely put her in my party. So should you bowl, in all honesty, she's probably the best of the 3 champions. She can cover bow, fans, and light, and has a 4-hit attack for all of them. She isn't going to be doing massive damage, but her role is concrete as a breaker. Having any 4-hit attack ability is always great to have. She pairs well with characters who inflict more damage with a bleed effect, such as Jilmelia and Haze. Longevity, again, any character that can cover 3 attack types with 4 hits is amazing. I can definitely see myself using her in the future to find enemy weaknesses. Her character design, 4.5 out of 5. I like her design, looks pretty cool. Voice actress, 4.5 out of 5. Atsuko Tanaka has a really cool voice. Abilities, 4 out of 5. She can cover bow, fans, and light, and has a 4-hit attack for each of them. Longevity, 3.75 out of 5. While she's great, I can definitely see other travelers replacing her. Level buff, 0 out of 5. Unlimited, yes, fortunately, 0 out of 5. Overall impressions, 4 out of 5. She's probably the best of the 3. On to our next champion. Tytos. He is a lightning warrior of the power faction, obtainable from memoirs. He is as standard as you can get out of a warrior, along with added auto revive skill. He has an amazing 5-hit lightning attack, which right now is the most for lightning attacks, so that makes him a bit attractive as a unit, but he still feels standard when compared to someone like Richard. Before we get to it, his voice actor is Rikiya Ryoma. Again, another voice actor that I've heard before. He voices Yamato from Naruto and Joichiro from Food Wars. He's got a pretty cool voice. Anyways, onto his notable damage skills. He has a 4-hit single target sword damage attack, and then for his nuke he has a 1-hit sword damage attack that does 1.2 times damage if the target is intimidated. And then he has a 1-hit AoE lightning damage, potency 150, that also inflicts an AoE intimidation. Enemies that are inflicted with intimidation receive a 5% physical defense and elemental defense down. And then he has a 5-hit random target elemental lightning damage, potency of 35. For his ultimate, he has a 1-hit sword damage attack, potency of 500 level 1, 600 level 10, and again potency 1.2 times the target is intimidated. For his notable support skills, he has a self-crit damage and damage increase of 20% for 2 turns, and auto revive, which gets him back to 100% HP and SP. And then his next ability, he avoids some physical attacks for 1 time, and he counters with a physical sword attack, potency 230, and it also inflicts intimidation to a target for 2 turns. For his passive, he gets a 20% increase to physical attack when target is inflicted with intimidation, and then he has a 15% increase in sword damage and crit damage. And finally, he has a 10% lightning resistance, 20 in wind. So taking a look at his stats, he has replaced both 2B and Olbrich as having the highest physical attack stat. Unfortunately, his speed is on the lower end, so expect him to go close to last. So should you pull? While he's not bad, he's not the greatest either. The main issue about warriors is that Square Enix loves the warriors. Fun fact, right now there are 12 5-star warriors in the game, and there are more 5-star warriors than any other jobs currently. His auto revive ability is great to have, his counter ability looks useful, and his 5-hit lightning attack along with his 4-hit sword attack is amazing, but because as he's part of a limited time banner, other warriors such as Lars and Joshua from the general pool could give him a run for his money. Obviously 2B and Richard as well, but for being a limited time unit, at this point in the game I expect a bit more. Longevity, to be blunt, he's not gonna last long. Of course he's great now, but with warriors, there are so many more upcoming killers who will remain and stay in your team probably permanently. So Tytos is nice to have, but definitely not needed. Character design, 4 out of 5. At first I thought he was fire based as he wore red, but I guess not. He looks alright. Voice actor, 4.5 out of 5. Rikiya Koyama, his voice is pretty amazing. His voice is pretty cool. Abilities, 3.75 out of 5. I gave him that 0.25 because he has that 5-hit lightning attack. Longevity, 3 out of 5. Again, I don't see him being used for a long time. Global buff, 0 out of 5. Time limited, 0 out of 5. Overall impressions, 3.5 out of 5. Not bad, not great. Finally, onto our last champion.
Marvelous! 開演だ!
Marvelous Man. He is a dark thief of the Fame faction, obtainable from memoirs. His main selling points are that he has access to multi-hit attacks with daggers, tomes, and dark. His passive allows him to get nutty and deal even more damage to enemies. But before we get to that, his voice actor, Daisuke Namikawa. Again, another familiar voice. He voices Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter, so I figured he played this kind of role. I didn't expect him to voice Alcora from Bleach though. He was too calm in that role. Anyways, onto Marvelous Man's skill. Jeez, does he have a lot of good abilities. He has a 4-hit single target physical damage attack, and then for his nuke he has a 1-hit dagger physical attack, once at 230, and also a 10% dagger resist down for 2 turns. And if his passive, Unbridled Passion, is activated, passive activates when an ally is KO'd or after ultimate is used. This ability will always crit and recover 3 BP for Auguste. Next, he has a 3-hit single target tome physical damage ability, and he has another 3-hit tome physical damage attack, but this time it's a random target, and has a moderate chance for poison and paralysis for 2 turns. And then for his tome nuke, he has 1-hit tome physical damage, potency 230, and again with his Unbridled Passion, or his passive, it's always going to crit and recovers 3 BP for himself. Onto his magical attacks, he has a 4-hit single target dark elemental attack, and then finally he has a 2-hit AoE dark elemental damage attack that reduces both physical and elemental defense for all enemies for 2 turns. And if his passive is activated, it becomes a 4-hit AoE dark attack and reduces both physical and elemental defense for 3 turns instead of 2. Its ultimate is a 5-hit single target dagger physical damage, potency 85 at level 1 and 100 at level 10. For his notable support skills, he has an anti-attack debuff ability. It's a single target 20% physical attack and physical defense down for 2 turns. And then his next ability, he gives an ally 30% physical attack and crit rate, but that same ally also gets a 30% physical defense down and an AoE hate on that ally for 2 turns. Moving on to his passives, Unbridled Passion activates when an ally is KO'd or after the ultimate is used. It activates Impassioned effect for 4 turns, which is a self 30% physical and elemental attack, and his abilities change. And his next passive, he gets a self 20% dagger damage increase. Finally, he has a 10% in dark resistance and 20 in light. Looking at his stat comparison, he has replaced A2 as having the highest HP, though he suffers in the speed category of 400. But because he's a thief and thieves usually have high speed, he's alright. Other than that, his stats are well rounded. So should you pull? If you still need a dark user, which I feel everyone does, he's great to have. A 4-hit single target dark elemental attack with a potential AoE 4-hit elemental dark attack is amazing to have. He is also able to lower dagger resist, making him a bit more attractive as a unit. It'll be a great addition if you have either A2 or Falco. His passive, while great, is interesting, and you'll probably never see it activate if you're just exploring or grinding for mats. If you're a whale, his A4 accessory allows any character to start a battle with a full ultimate bar, so that's pretty darn good. Longevity, he's not bad, but again, he's not the greatest. He doesn't have any abilities that break shields regardless, so you're limited to daggers, tomes, and dark attacks. As a limited time unit, I kinda expect more. I can definitely see him being used in dark teams and dagger teams, and also his passive requires a bit of a setup, so you'll probably be seeing him in longer fights compared to short fights. Character design, 4.5 out of 5. He looks absolutely insane. I like it. Voice actor, 4.5 out of 5. Namikawa Daisuke must have a thing for these kind of voices. Pretty cool. Abilities, 4 out of 5. His kit's not too bad. Longevity, 3.5 out of 5. I can see him being used in the future, but not extensively. Global buff, 0 out of 5. Time limited. Yes, unfortunately, 0 out of 5. Overall impressions, a solid 3.75 out of 5. He's good, not the greatest. There's going to be a really good thief that comes out in the future that's really going to blow the current thieves out of the water. Alright, so wrapping it up from best to decent, Herminia is probably the one that you want to chase for, Marvelous Man, and then Tytos. Depending on who you have and don't have, it could definitely be a debate. If you're a whale, Marvelous Man's A4 accessory is game changing. Anyways, that's it for this overview. Let me know who you're pulling for. I'd like to get both Marvelous Man and Herminia. We'll see what Lady Luck has in store for us this Wednesday. Good luck in your pulls, and like always, take care of yourselves. Light out.